You know that feeling, right? You roll out this brilliant new plan, everyone in the room nods along, and you think, yes, we finally cracked it. And then, just a few weeks later, poof, it's gone. It's one of the single biggest frustrations in leadership. So let's get into why that happens, and more importantly, how you can actually fix it for good.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? You put in all the work, you create the strategy, you build the playbook, you talk about this better way of doing things, and still, somehow, everyone just snaps right back to the old habits. What is going on there?
Well, there's actually a name for this. It's called the reversion problem. And here's the thing you absolutely have to understand. This is not because you have bad people, and it's not because you're a bad communicator. It is a common, totally predictable challenge that happens when we just fundamentally misunderstand what actually drives human behavior.
And right at the very heart of this reversion problem is a concept called the knowing-doing gap. You've seen this. It's that huge, frustrating canyon between what your team knows they're supposed to be doing and what they actually do when the pressure's on.
I mean, does this list feel a little too real? You've checked all the boxes, you hired smart, capable people, you made the expectations crystal clear, you did the big kickoff meeting, you built a beautiful playbook, and now it's just sitting on a server somewhere collecting digital dust. It is maddening. And it's a giant flashing sign that the problem isn't your plan, it's the system around the plan.
So, what's the knee-jerk reaction when this happens? We need more training, right? Another all hands, another email, more information. But this is exactly where most leaders go wrong. Let's dig into why just throwing more information at people is a completely broken strategy.
Just look at this number for a second, 90%. What do you think that represents when we're talking about learning something new at work? Just take a guess.
And there you have it. This is based on something called the forgetting curve, and it's been proven for over a century. We are literally wired to forget almost everything we learn unless we put it into practice right away. So that big, expensive training session you ran last week, yeah, most of it was gone by Friday. Information alone does not change behavior. It just doesn't. And this analogy just nails it. You can't get stronger by just staring in the mirror and thinking about lifting weights. You have to actually go do the reps. It's the same thing here. You can't inform your team into becoming a high-performing unit. Believing more information is the answer isn't a strategy. It's just wishful thinking.
Okay, so if it's not a knowledge problem, what kind of problem is it? Well, this is the big aha moment. This is the shift in thinking that changes the whole game. Behavioral science shows us that changing what people do isn't a people problem at all. It's a design problem.
The science here is so clear. Our actions, they're not really governed by what's in our heads. They're the output of a system. And that system pretty much boils down to three specific things that, and this is the important part, we can actually design.
And here it is. This is the answer from science. It's called the CALM-B model, and it's a total game changer. It's so simple. For any behavior to happen, you need three things to be true at the exact same moment. You need capability. Do people have the skills and the psychological capacity to do it? You need opportunity. Does the environment around them, their tools, their time, actually allow them to do it? And finally, motivation. Do they actually want to do it more than they want to do the old, easy thing? If even one of those is missing, the new behavior is dead in the water.
So let this sink in. People aren't lazy, and they're not resisting change for the sake of it. They're just efficient. Your team goes back to the old habits because the world you've built around them, the software, the meeting structures, the social norms, makes the old way the path of least resistance. The real blocker isn't their willpower, it's the environment.
Okay, so how do we actually fix this? How do we become architects of that environment? Well, let's walk through a super practical four-step engineering process to close that knowing-doing gap for good. It's called the TDEM methodology.
And I want you to think of this less like giving a pep talk and more like building a machine. It's an engineering process. So first, you translate your big abstract strategy into a clear, measurable outcome. Then, you define the exact observable behaviors that will get you there. Next, and this is the most important part, you enable those behaviors by redesigning the world around them. And finally, you measure everything to track your progress and prove that it's working.
All right, let's start with Translate. This is all about getting past those fluffy corporate buzzwords like, we need to be more innovative or improve synergy. You have to ask, what does success actually look like? When we achieve this goal, what are people physically doing differently?
And that leads you right into Define. And my favorite tool for this is what's called the video test. It's simple. You ask, if I were to take out my phone and film your team doing this new thing perfectly, what specific, observable actions would I literally see on the screen? No mind reading, no abstract ideas, just stuff you can see and hear.
Now we get to the absolute core of this whole thing, enable. This is where you stop being a manager and start being an architect. You take that COM model we just talked about, and you look at everything in your team's environment, the software they use, the way meetings are run, the way people are recognized, and you ask one simple question. What here is making the old behavior easy, and what's making the new behavior hard? And then you redesign it, piece by piece.
And finally, we have to measure. And it's really two questions you're answering. Number one, are people actually doing the new thing? You have to track the behavior itself. And number two, is doing that thing actually producing the business results we wanted in the first place? This is how you close the loop and prove that all this work was worth it.
Okay, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's check out a couple of quick examples of how engineering behavior drives real, measurable results.
So, take a team that was terrible at giving each other feedback. The old way is to send them to feedback training. Ugh. The engineering way is to figure out the blockers. In this case, it was social awkwardness and no dedicated time. So they created a few simple scripts to make it less awkward and put a recurring 15-minute hold on everyone's calendar. The result? They tripled their feedback frequency in 1 month. Or how about a company with a great culture that started to drift as they grew? Instead of just putting the values up on a poster, they defined living our values with 5 crystal clear, observable behaviors. Then they wove those behaviors into everything: their hiring process, their weekly meetings, their performance reviews. And guess what? Their culture scores bounced right back up in a single quarter.
I mean, this slide just lays it all out. On the left, you've got the old way. It's all about information and motivation. It assumes the person is the problem, and it just leads to this endless, frustrating cycle of failed initiatives. But on the right, you have the behavioral science way. It focuses on the environment, it redesigns the system, and it makes the right behavior the easiest choice. It's the difference between hope and engineering.
And that right there is the single most important idea to take away from this. Building a high-performing team isn't some mystical art form that relies on charisma. It's a science. It's an engineering discipline.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. Is your organization ready to get off that hamster wheel of failed initiatives? Are you ready to stop trying to manage people's willpower and instead start designing the systems that make success, that make great behavior not just possible, but inevitable?